Welcome, everybody, to the Nuggets of Gold podcast. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to do a Sam Darnold film session. As we know, the 49ers have been looking to address not really a need, I guess, but they're trying to upgrade their quarterback room. Sam Darnold, potentially one of those guys. There's been reports that they like him. There's been reports that they don't like him. That's just NFL offseason. You're going to get reports about a whole bunch of stuff. But he's definitely an option, I think, for them moving forward. I know a lot of people are like very shut off to the idea of bringing him in. I don't think I love it, but I don't think it's the worst thing they can do. I think it makes sense. But I have a guest on today, Ricky. Ricky, do you want to get into just the background of Sam and just where he is as a player and why his career, I guess, has started a little bit slow?
So, breaking down Sam Darnold's history, the only real quarterback coach he's had over a consistent period is Jordan Palmer during the offseason. And that started when he was in high school at San Clemente. His redshirt year at USC, the veteran quarterback was Cody Kessler, who had a brief stint in career in the NFL. And he's been around here and there, but I don't know. Is he still in the league, Matt? Do you know?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He's at least like a far on a depth chart somewhere, if that.
Yeah, so not someone who can really teach Sam Darnold a whole lot, and especially play style. They're very different. And then he had Tyson Helton as his quarterback coach, who's now the head coach at Western Kentucky. All right program, but not really producing NFL quarterbacks. His freshman year of eligibility, Tyson Helton was again his quarterback coach. And then his sophomore year of eligibility at USC, he had no quarterback coach. So that was probably either T. Martin, who was their offensive coordinator and their wide receivers coach, or Clay Helton, who was their head coach. Either way, not getting a whole lot of time and not getting really a whole lot of development through his college career.
For college programs, because I definitely don't know the college coaching element as well. Is it normal for a team not to have a quarterback coach employed, especially when you're going to have a guy going top 5 overall?
No, not at all. My guess it was just a quick transition period because Tyson Helton took the head coaching job at Western Kentucky, and Clay Helton thought, I got a veteran quarterback, Sam Darnold, who knows what he's doing. I probably don't need a quarterback coach in the room. Darnold probably did a lot of coaching, especially for the younger guys. I believe at this point in time, Jack Sears, another guy who came from Sam Darnold's high school, was also in the quarterback room with him. So he also had a previous relationship, kind of mentorship with that quarterback. So I'm pretty sure he was there at that point too. But no, that is very uncommon. And I definitely believe it harmed Sam Darnold's overall development as a player. And I think it also probably led to him choosing to leave USC when at most other programs, another year would have really benefited him in college. Just physical development, mental development, overall, just getting another year of playing experience because he only got 2 real years of playing experience. So I think that would have helped.
Yeah, definitely. And then what does his quarterback coach room look like in the NFL, or what has it looked like?
Actually, it's probably been a little bit worse than his college quarterback room. His rookie year, Jeremy Bates was his quarterback coach. Jeremy Bates no longer, according to Wikipedia, isn't coaching anymore.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Dowell Loggins was his quarterback coach for his second and third year. And now he is currently an analyst at Penn State. And a little fun fact about him and his history, he was a huge Johnny Manziel advocate in Cleveland. And his best season with a quarterback was with Jay Cutler.
That doesn't sound very promising as well.
So I think you'll see in a lot of the film, especially with his feet and throwing mechanics, especially under pressure, that there's a bit of inconsistency with Sam Darnold. I think a lot of that can be attributed to this lack of coaching and lack of quarterback development. I think from off seasons when he's working with Jordan Palmer, you see huge growth in all aspects of his game, from mentality, from leading a team, to even just throwing mechanics, like his footwork, everything. So I think working with Jordan Palmer really helps him. But if you can get a quarterback coach even to a lower level of that, it would really benefit him overall.
And also, we didn't even bring up Adam Gase has been his head coach throughout his NFL career. And when we were watching the film too, we talked about how, or at least you were talking about to me about how Adam Gase doesn't use his players how they should be used. He'll put in Frank Gore in a situation where why is Frank Gore being used in this spot? Like this isn't his role. Like this shouldn't be his role. So there's a lot of question marks there. Also, anyone that's watched the Jets play the last couple of years knows that they don't have much talent on their roster. So there's also that element of it. And the final thing I'll say before we jump into the film is Sam Darnold is going to be 24 years old next year. He came to the league at 21, and he hasn't really had the coaching around him. So that's definitely something to take note of before we get into it. But let's get into the plays right now.
One quick thing before we do that. You brought up Adam Gase. I'd also like to keep in mind Adam Gase's last quarterback, who didn't turn out so well with Adam Gase, and then went to the Tennessee Titans and is a killer. Ryan Tannehill was awful with Adam Gase, and now even with a coach who's not an offensive-minded coach, he's able and capable of doing great things just because of what the run does for that offense, kind of similar to what the Niners have.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, if you look at a team like, okay, what's the most power run team in the sport? You look at the Titans with Derrick Henry, but second to that, you probably look to the Niners just because, okay, they have Kyle Juszczyk, they have George Kittle, they have this, outside zone scheme offense, but it's a lot of power running. It is more outside zone, I guess, but it's very physical running. And that's that's what they want to base their offense around, is the play action and the physical running attack. So I do like that comp. Also brought up how young Sam Darnold is, how he's just kind of been kind of inexperienced when it comes from learning the game from someone that's just very knowledgeable and like it's widely recognized as that. And Sam hasn't had that. But Ryan Tannehill was a receiver transitioning to a quarterback. So that another guy that, it was going to take him some time to grow and develop. And that didn't happen under Adam Gase. So I like that you bring that up. But yeah, let's get into the film right now. So for these first couple plays, we're going to be looking at the Los Angeles Rams game. And this was a game where I thought Sam Darnold looked fantastic. We'll see in this play right here. You see some of the athleticism. You see him roll out and make a fantastic throw. And unfortunately, Braxton Berrios is his target on that one because Braxton Berrios is not able to bring that one in. But just check this out right here. I mean, this is an excellent throw. He evades pressure, redirects, rolls out, squared pretty good. He does his weird jump throw thing, but great ball, and unfortunately, it's an incompletion. But Ricky, what do you like about this play? What do you not like about this play?
So I really love his pocket presence to start off with. Going against the Rams, it's going to be strong pressure almost the entire game. 99 in the middle and 54 on the edge are going to create some havoc. So he's well aware of that. And if you look at this, none of his receivers are open right now. So he's just buying them time. I like that he doesn't force it into the middle right there because I could see him doing that. He really has strong pocket presence and know how much time he has. I would have liked to see him wait a little bit longer to throw that ball and let Braxton
Berrios get some more separation.
Yeah, or maybe not even separation, but let Braxton stack the corner a little bit better and use his body to create a little bit more space. I know Braxton's a smaller receiver, so that might not be his skill set, and he might know that, but I think Sam Darnold does a great job with his pocket presence and giving his receivers time to be creative.
What about the mechanics right here on the throw? Because we talked about this a lot on the run. He does this weird. I mean, that one's a lot better. Some of the other throws that you'll see when we go through it, he just misses it. But overall, I think you think this is a quality play from Sam?
I do. I really do. For Sam Darnold's mechanics, the biggest thing I look for is his hips. He's athletic enough to make some throws off of bad footwork that most quarterbacks can't, just due to his athleticism. So that one, I wasn't a huge fan. I would have liked to see him take a step or two more before he threw it, just to square up a little bit better. But he got his hips engaged and he got the ball there in the perfect spot. So his athleticism definitely made up for it.
Okay, and like I said, this Rams game, Sam looked really good. This is actually the last meaningful play of the game, and it's not a super complex play. Also, it's Frank Gore. This is a 49ers podcast, so we got to give Frank some love. This is, I think, a better play by Frank Gore, if anything, but I wanted to include it just because we see Sam's criticized so much for just not understanding the game, and you'll see right here. He looks off Frank Gore the whole time, waits for him to get exactly to that first down marker, delivers a strike. It's a very easy throw for him to make, but he does it, and this is a 3rd and 6 to win the game, basically. And this is the Jets' first win of the year in 2020. But it's a very simple play, but it's just he does it perfectly. I mean, he goes through, he's looking. You see, it looks like John Johnson right here has to like fade away because he's not quite sure where he's going. Frank gets open, and then look, bam, gets 1 more yard than he needs to pick up the first. Ricky, what do you like about this play?
So I really like what, like you said, Sam looking off the safeties. He does in other film that we watched, and you guys will see later. He does tend to stare down receivers at times, but here he does a great job of looking the safeties off. I like his mechanics overall. I felt like felt pretty confident in the pocket and just stepped up and delivered a great ball.
And they're also bringing 5 here too. So there's some pressure. He gets hit.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. And he squares his feet too. And that's another thing that we were talking about that he just doesn't always do. So overall, I think that's a good rep from Sam.
And another thing that Sam doesn't really get a whole lot of credit for that we've at least seen in our film breakdown is he's not afraid to take some shots. We've seen him take some big hits, and he still has either delivered the ball incomplete out of bounds to avoid a sack or made a good decision and just got it to a check down.
Yeah, and this is a prime example of that right here. And that's something I don't really think that's teachable. Some guys really just have it or they don't have it. And you'll see a lot of quarterbacks even in today's NFL shy away from contact. And I guess that ability maybe has been devalued a little bit, but when you're playing against in just a regular season game, but if you're playing in important football games, you're going to have to sit there and take a big hit. Like that's just going to be necessary to win in some big playoff games. So I do like that Sam does that. And we'll show some other clips too where his feet aren't perfect, but this is a good rep here. Okay, and then we're going to get into a couple negative plays here. 2 interceptions against the Dolphins. This is the first one right here. You'll see Donald rolls out, and throws it straight to the defender. Just misses his target, and we're going to see it a second time through here. But Ricky, do you want to go through just why his mechanics are off on this throw as we kind of see it a second time?
Yeah, no problem. So let's see what we're working with here. Again, I do like his pocket presence. He got out at the right time. But see there, he didn't really get his hips engaged to where he was trying to throw the ball. And he kind of just threw them out there. And the ball was very inaccurate.
Because he's trying to throw this one into the bottom left corner, right?
Mm-hmm. That's where the ball should go.
Closer to the sideline.
Yes, that's where the ball should go.
He does the jump throw again across his body a little bit. And he doesn't even need to throw it across his body, but he just kind of gets redirected that way, it almost seems.
Yeah. And that's where I think the hips come in. If he would have had his hips more pointed where he was trying to throw the ball rather than just trying to open them. And I think he was just trying to get his hips engaged in the throw rather than pointing his hips at his target.
Is this something that can be fixed? Or is it just repetition? Like, what is it that needs to be done if he's going to improve in this aspect?
Yeah, this is just repetition. And if we're being honest, it's pretty hard to rep this kind of motion for a quarterback, having guys chasing down on him, going to the sideline, throwing back into a receiver. I guess he didn't really need to throw back into him, but that could have been just a miscommunication between him and the receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. And then here's the second play. We'll see another that was just one, it's a terrible decision. 2, he looks so stiff and just like stuck when he throws the ball. And we'll see him right here again. So yeah, we're going to see 4 guys coming in on pressure, open pocket, clean pocket. He panics a little bit, readjusts, and just throws a bad ball. Perriman, it looks like that's Perriman's target, not really ready for it. There's no reason that ball should be thrown, but what's up with this little hitch that he does?
So I think he really feels that edge pressure late. I can't tell who it is right
Is
there.
it
That guy coming in. Yep, right there. Who the pointer's on?
40?
Number 40. I think Sam sees that and he doesn't have a whole lot of faith in his O line here, and he just gets the ball out quickly. Because I mean, if you look at his eyes, he's not even really looking at Perryman when he before he throws it. He just kind of sees it and gets rid of it quickly.
And then you see his feet right here. He
Hmm.
steps and then just kinda lets it go early. I mean, he's not set, he's not ready to throw that ball to the right side of the field. His foot is planted where it looks like a running back or it looks like Mims up top here. He's directed over to that area of the field and just kinda forces it. So that's one of those instances where, honestly, just throw it at this dude's feet. You don't need to, like, make this play and have some big time play because he throws a pick here and they're at what, their own 30, 35-yard line. Like, this is where I think a lot of the criticism of Sam is very accurate, just because, like, this is, you can't do this if you're an NFL quarterback in my mind. And, like, yeah, he doesn't have faith in his O line, but look, his O line holds. 40 gets picked up. Like, he doesn't have, he could have waited, he could have rolled out here, and he did have the pocket presence to understand that 40's coming, but it doesn't really help at the end of the day. At the end of the day on this one, just because it's a bad rep. I don't know. I don't like that one. But anything else you want to add for this play?
Yeah, a couple of final notes. I 100% agree with you. I think that ball should have gone to the slant in the middle of the field. But if you do notice on this throw, there's a lack of hip engagement when he follows through. Um, and another thing too is I do want to give a little bit of credit to Brian Flores and his defense here. I know that they run some complex concepts that trick young quarterbacks, and especially with the lack of coaching that we touched on earlier with Sam, I kind of expect mistakes like these out of quarterbacks against a Bill Belichick like system.
And Flores comes from the Belichick tree too.
Exactly. So I think that you see similar mistakes in any time that the Patriots play a young quarterback, and I think this is just a similar mistake.
So now we'll check out a couple plays from the Seahawks game. And this first one's a very positive play. Second one, it's pretty rough. It's one of Sam's worst reps, but we'll go through this first one quickly right here. And you'll see Braxton Berrios is in the backfield. Pretty interesting. Ricky, you actually like that. I thought it was a little bit odd, but then when you see the play, how they design it, how they run it, it makes sense. And this is an excellent play by Sam. This is something that not all quarterbacks can make this play. Just because look at the arm angle, look at how he's standing, and we talk about how the mechanics are inconsistent. I mean, this is another example of them being inconsistent, but he takes a big hit right here and he gets it out. Boom, 3rd and 6. They get exactly 6. And yeah, so they get the mismatch here. I like this play overall. Good throw. But Ricky, what do you like about this one?
So starting off with the play design, they motion the running back out and they get a mismatch with Braxton Berrios on a linebacker. It is Bobby Wagner, who's one of the better cover guys, but a quick guy like Braxton Berrios should beat him more often than not. So Sam, I think, knows exactly where he wants to go with this ball as soon as he sees this alignment.
And he knows this
I,
guy's coming too. He knows he's
oh
coming. He
yeah,
knows he has to get out quick.
and Sam knows he pointed to the right at the start of this play, so you can tell he shifted the O line coverage to the right, so he knew if anyone's coming off that left side, he's a free runner and he's gonna have to throw the ball around him. So I just really love how he stands in the pocket here, and he does back up a little bit, but he probably increases his throwing angle if anything by doing that.
And this also, I like this play a lot just because it shows the arm talent of Sam Darnold. You know, we see guys like Matthew Stafford. Everyone loves, oh, look how Matthew Stafford throws around this guy. This is an excellent job right here by Sam. He gets it right around, pressure's coming, takes the hit, delivers a strike on 3rd and 6. It's a little bit behind Barrios, but honestly, that ball just has to be on him. It's not necessary for it to be, a dot where he can get some yak. It's more about, hey, let's get this first down. We're in the red zone. So I like this play a lot from Sam.
Exactly, and that's what creating that mismatch does.
So I mentioned that there was another play in this game. This one's really bad. We're gonna see Blitz Boy here. I guess you could say he made a play. Maybe he didn't make a play, but I don't know what Sam's thinking. Throws it right to him. Luckily, Jamal Adams drops the interception, but this is bad. You see him up here. He stares down the target the whole time, has no idea Jamal's there. Is this something that you want to see from a quarterback in his third year?
This is just a horrible decision, horrible eyes. The throwing mechanics actually weren't terrible, but everything else was. I think he just misrecognized his coverage, and I don't really know what he's doing because you see him glance at Jamal Adams. So I just think he assumed that Jamal Adams was going to hover with Perryman going down the field, but I'm not entirely sure what Sam was thinking here.
And
Um,
we'll watch another replay right here too. There's a guy open. There's a guy
mhm,
wide open on this play. You see him right here. Pyramids beat him.
yep.
And I know you're saying, Ricky, if they're even, we're leaving. And
Yes,
his
sir.
wide receiver and that DB are even. And we've seen Sam make that good downfield throw. I don't know why he goes to Jamal in this one. This is just, it's one of those plays where, I mean, and I guess we have to say it, but he's seeing ghosts here. I don't know what he's doing. He just doesn't think that Adams is coming here. You got to understand that and not really force this throw. It was a third down and Jamal dropped it, but if Jamal catches it, this is a pick six. So this cannot happen.
Exactly. I think he was recognizing this as like cover two man, and then it was more so of a cover one robber.
And you have Jamal down there playing that robber spot, which makes
Exactly.
sense, like where but that even makes sense. Look at him at when the play starts.
Yeah,
He's
because he'll
below it. He's below Diggs,
if
and
you
he's just
watch
kind of hovering there the whole time.
but if you go back to the other angle, you'll see that Sam glances at Jamal Adams, and I think when he sees Jamal Adams, I think he just assumes that he's going to stay in that spot rather than come super hard because he sees him.
Yeah, he definitely thinks they're in too high.
He glances in towards him right there, and then now he's looking back out and he throws it. So I think he just assumes that Jamal Adams is going to see Brashard Perriman crossing that guy's face and try and get back over the top.
So going back to another positive play for Sam, you see defensive lines coming up. They bring some pressure, sits in the pocket. It's a good pocket, but then he delivers a strike downfield here to his deep threat, Brashad Perriman, and really good ball. Hits it right on the sideline just so he gets, what is this, a 37-yard gain. But what do you think about this play, Ricky?
I really like the ball. To start, I really like the ball from Sam Darnold. I think he gives a lot of room for Brashard Perriman to run under it, and it doesn't need to be the perfect ball based off how the defense is playing. I like his pocket presence. Again, there's a little bit of a rush coming. He recognizes it, and he still sits in the pocket and delivers a nice ball. And like I said, he gives him plenty of room to run under, um, in the right spot away from the safeties. Throwing mechanics wise, his feet are set. He engages his hips and he just launches it.
So this is going to be the last negative play we show as Sam, but this is maybe the worst play of the season from him. Beginning of the game, throws a pick six right to Xavier Rhodes. And we'll go over his footwork right here. So here we go. Staying in the pocket, pretty clean pocket. Footwork looks good. Just a bad decision, really. Ricky, what do you see in this one?
I see a veteran quarterback taking advantage of a young quarterback. Xavier Rhodes, he did have a down year with his last year at the Vikings, but here he just sits on the top of the route and he just breaks on it and takes it back to the house. As a quarterback, though, this is a huge deflator for the rest of your team. And going against a team like the Colts, you can't do that. They're going to make you pay. That defense is hungry, and that's just going to give them more motivation for the rest of the game and kind of shake Sam Darnold. And especially with that quarterback room and Adam Gase head coach, I kind of doubt there's anyone in Sam Darnold's shoulder or behind Sam Darnold's shoulder, kind of just telling him it's all right. Like we'll get it back on the next one.
And is this just a throw that he shouldn't make or just kind of a bad ball? It looks like the receiver's just not really ready. I mean, it's a great play by Rhodes, don't get me wrong, but I still think Sam, like, it's just one of the throws where it's like you don't really need to get it there. It looks like it's a timing route as well, though. So it just looks like he was going to go there the whole time. He was already fully committed before the play starts. But I don't know. I still don't like this one. We see him force the ball into too many spots. And while this is an excellent play by Rhodes, I still think that it's just another example of that. The footwork is fine on this one, but overall, you don't want to see Sam make this throw.
Overall, Xavier Rhodes does make a great play, but yeah, like you said, it's just a bad decision. I think he misrecognized the coverage. I think he thought Xavier Rhodes was going to turn and run, and Xavier Rhodes was just planning on sitting the entire time. I think he put a lot of faith in his receiver to try and make a play on it, and his receiver had the timing off, or him and the receiver had the timing off, so they weren't able to make a play on the ball, and Xavier Rhodes was ready.
So we saw the last play where Xavier Rhodes is just kind of on Sam Darnold. He knows what to expect from him and then gets the pick six. This play, we got to attribute this one to Sam Darnold's athleticism and this is just an excellent play. So I'll let it speak for itself. You see him break down. I think that's Justin Simmons, who, just got the biggest safety contract in NFL history. And that's what Daniel Jones was trying to do on that Monday Night Football game. But Sammy Darnold, this is an excellent play. I just love this one just because how many quarterbacks can make this play?
Probably 4 or 5 in the league total, but that's probably being a little generous too. And a subtle thing on this play that like some announcers and some Instagram people have picked up on is Sam Darnold actually does a subtle fake slide.
Yeah, you'll see that right after here. But look at this. Okay, look at this part on Simmons right here. He jukes him out of his shoes. That is the highest paid safety in the NFL. And then this is the fake slide right here, right?
Mm-hmm. Right here to get 22.
And he gets him so good.
And it's just subtle with the little footwork, but
And Crowder almost tackles him.
Sam Darnold is just athletic enough to make that play. And honestly, too, it's kind of going back to his toughness, too, because like you said, he has the highest paid safety bearing down on him. A lot of quarterbacks are just taking that slide, but he decides to put his foot in the ground and try and make a move.
That is an element of his game that's really underrated. He's a very tough player. I mean, we've saw him get hurt a couple times in the past. I think a lot of that is because of the offensive line, but we see him sit in the pocket, take big hits. Sometimes the footwork's not there, but he's definitely always willing to take big hits. And here he's in the open field and he doesn't go down. He doesn't slide. Instead, he does a fake slide, and there's not many quarterbacks that'll do that, but he really sacrifices his body on this one. So, and also you just don't see many quarterbacks make plays like this. So this is one that has to be on the film session playlist, I guess, here, just because look at that. That's just sweet.
I think it also displays his creativity that we see throughout Sam Darnold's film work, and sometimes it works in his favor and other times it doesn't always. But I think with a strong quarterback coach to kind of structure when you use that creativity versus when not in the system would really benefit him.
So to wrap it up for this Sam Darnold film review, we're going to be going over these 2 incompletions. These are consecutive incompletions against the Bills in week 1. And we'll just go over the mechanics of these throws and just why he missed them. And we see right here, throws short to the right. I think that's to Crowder. And when we get a closer view, you're going to see he's just looks a little odd in the pocket. Comes up. There's a little bit of pressure, but he could step up. He doesn't. And look at those hips. They're not really squared. His feet aren't planted. And then he just jumps and throws the ball. What do you think about this one, Ricky?
I think his pocket presence isn't great here I think that's the first time I've said that. But there's a 5-man pressure, but his O-line honestly holds up pretty well. Like you said, Matt, he does his little jump throw thing. But unlike the other jump throw that we saw, his hips are completely pointed the wrong way, and he does not engage them and throw at all. He also doesn't really get his feet underneath him.
Yeah, we see his feet just stuck right here. And it looks like his butt is touching the butt of his left tackle. He's just in a very awkward spot. And I think a lot of times he just is able to get away with making those awkward throws. I mean, we see highlight reels of Sam Darnold where he's rolling out and throws across his body almost like sidearm like that. And that's just one where in this play, it leads to an incompletion.
And if you look at his pocket, I mean, he honestly could probably step up and move to the right a little bit. There is that guy barring down late.
But right here,
Yeah,
is a
exactly.
even has a free blocker right here, because these guys both look like they are not stunning inside, but they're recovering and they're coming around in the middle of the like
And
around the
honestly,
center.
if he stepped to the right a little bit, he'd probably have an easier throwing lane too, to either Perryman or Crowder.
And then for the second incompletion and the last play of this, and we're gonna recap it too. So let's see the footwork on this one. Goes here, pocket breaks down. He does step up this time and just misses him.
So on this one, I'd like to see him point his shoulders and his hips a little bit more while he's throwing like towards his target. Sam probably is athletic enough to make this play, or more often than not, he has a few steps of separation, and that's the throw he needs to make. Sam is typically athletic enough to make this throw, but I do think we're seeing a little week one rust in this film.
Yeah, definitely. Like this is one where he just kind of misses him. Also, it's worth mentioning Perriman was a new addition, and this is probably you had a very short off season, so you're not really getting that much time with him. But I guess the mechanics aren't terrible in this one, but you just got to make this throw. And you see him kind of jump a little bit again. That's the jump throw stuff. I think if he cut that out of his game, it would help him a lot. He probably just does it because he's been able to get away with making those plays, and he'll just make highlight reel plays a lot. But in this case, it does not help him at all.
I honestly don't mind the jump throw in all scenarios, but he really does need to finish it harder if he is going to use it. If you kind of see his arm kind of finishes high and stays high, if he's going to do that jump, he's really going to need to come down. The only reason I don't mind it is because when he's rolling out like that, he can get it over the arm, the extended arm of the D lineman, and it kind of increases his arm angle. And with an athlete like Darnold, I think he can get away with it more often than not. And the arm talent we've already seen in his film, I think he just needs to make it a more consistent aspect of his game.
So to wrap it up, we're just going to talk about his fit in a Kyle Shanahan offense with the 49ers. I'll let you start, Ricky. How do you think that would work out?
I think it would definitely take a little bit of time. I think Kyle's offense is a little bit complex just with the receiver reads and making audibles at the line based on what you're seeing. I think Kyle could simplify it for him if he wanted to, but I don't necessarily think it would be in the most benefit or the most beneficial for the Niners. I think long term, if Sam Darnold got a full season to be a backup, learn the system, kind of get groomed under a good quarterback coach, I think that could be really beneficial for him and could kind of honestly completely change his career arc. I also really like the power offense and kind of moving him more into a play action pass style quarterback, especially with his athleticism. Let him roll out. We've seen what it's done for Baker and his fundamentals. 2 seasons ago, his fundamentals were breaking down. And then last season, Stefanski used their run and rollouts to kind of get back to the fundamentals, get his footwork, get his hips, get his shoulders all synced up. And now he can throw another run across his body better than he can not across his body, which is crazy. But that just shows what repetition can do and just finding what works for a quarterback. And I don't think Sam Darnold's really had the opportunity to find what works for him the best.
Yeah, I mean, we know for his coaching tree, or not his coaching tree, but all of his quarterback coaches or who was kind of
Mm-hmm.
leading him in that department. And it's no one that you want to be like, hey, like this is a great guy that could help Sam out. There is Jordan Palmer, but that's not during the season. That's Jordan Palmer's creating a playbook for him. He's not teaching him, okay, this is how I want you to play quarterback in the system. He hasn't had the system that's really helped him. Adam Gase, you brought up Ryan Tannehill earlier. I think that's fantastic. I mean, we see his career completely changed. I think a lot of times with quarterbacks too, people don't look at, okay, like people look at Sam, they go, oh, he's a very raw player, but he's not going to be able to have these to like overcome these mental hurdles. I don't think that's what it completely is. Just from watching, a lot of times he'll throw like one of those interceptions. I think it was against the Dolphins. He throws a pick. It's not because of decision making. It's because he misses the throw because he's not
Mm-hmm.
squared because he's not set up. And then we see some other throws. There was one. It was a throw where he goes to Perriman deep down the field, and it's a very simple just play structure. Half the field has routes. He checks. He even stares Perriman down pretty much the whole time, but it's such a simple play that he's able to just deliver a strike downfield. And that's a really good throw on that one. But if you have him in Kyle's offense, a lot of times, I think this is what makes that offense so great, is you only have to read half the field. You go off a play action, and Sam booting, that's good. If we can see Sam boot and set his hips, set his feet, and deliver strikes to his targets, that's the big part. I think that's the biggest question about him coming to the 49ers, and also just understanding the playbook and really understanding that pre-snap stuff. Because there are times that we saw the Frank Gore one, for instance, the Braxton Berrios one, where he comes in, he makes a pre-snap read. He knows exactly what he's going to do. And those aren't super advanced plays, I don't think. I mean, the Braxton Berrios one, it's a pretty obvious mismatch. And then with Frank Gore, he just kind of looked away and goes, okay, there he is. He's in the middle of the field, pick it up, win the game. But it's simple. When you give him simple stuff in the game, that's where he's not struggling. I think the big question then, besides can he get his footwork good? Can he, consistently show his hips and have his hips aligned to his target? Can he have them, rotating well and like actually delivering strikes? That's one of the big things. But the other thing is he a guy that's a grinder? And that's something that we're not going to be able to answer today. But if he is, that pre-snap stuff is, I think you can hope or at least assume that if someone's grinding, if someone's staying there with Kyle, working super hard, they're going to understand the offense a lot better. We saw that with Matt Ryan. And I'm not saying that Sam Darnold's going to become, an MVP player with Kyle, but I definitely think that we would see a different version of him, and one where his skills, it's more like obtainable for him to play at his skill level and to show, hey man, I'm an athlete. I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna ball out, I'm gonna deliver strike after strike. And honestly, in the field, like when we're playing, it's usually a 1 or 2 read guy that I'm hitting. I don't have to have these advanced, oh, let me wait for this wide receiver to do this. It's not super difficult. So I think that it would help him a lot.
Exactly. I mean, and if you look at it, there are a lot of Sam Darnold critics, but if you look at all what they're saying, it's all different. And I think that kind of just highlights what we think his biggest weakness is inconsistency. And at least I attribute a lot of that to coaching and systems that he's been in. And I think Kyle's system and Kyle's coaching can fix that in a season. I really do. And I think he can have a great career in the NFL, maybe not a franchise quarterback, but I think he could be a solid starter for a few years or a great backup for a long time. I think everyone talks about, obviously, his athleticism. It's clearly apparent, but I don't think enough people talk about his toughness. I think he's a really tough quarterback, and he's been in a lot of tough situations, and he's kind of stuck it out and done everything the coaches have asked, at least from what we've seen. So I think that kind of goes under the radar and isn't talked about enough with a guy like Sam Darnold. He's
So
never in the
Ricky,
media. Oh, sorry.
I was going to
He's
say,
never in the. Oh.
so you're not a 49ers guy, but the 49ers drafted CJ Beathard in the 3rd round. And basically the reasoning behind it, at least that the media came out, it was like, oh, well, CJ is really tough. So Kyle's going to love watching that toughness on film.
Exactly. So I think that toughness is going to, if you really get down to film breakdown, you'll see it. And he's willing to stand in the pocket, deliver the balls. They may not always be the best balls, but I think as he gets more experience in the NFL with great coaching, that'll help a lot.
Yeah. So for the 49ers to make this move, what would you be willing to give up? If you're the 49ers, how much capital, or are you even willing to give up anything? I'll go through what I think after, but what do you think?
Honestly, it depends. If I'm the Niners, I'm not making a move until after draft night. If they go quarterback, I'm calling them and seeing what the asking price is in the middle of the draft, probably in the middle of the 3rd round, 3rd or 4th, because if you do it in the 2nd, they're obviously going to ask for a 2nd. And I think a 2nd is a little steep for Sam Darnold if they draft a quarterback in the 1st, especially at that pick. I think one of those quarterbacks is going to be near ready to take over the system. And with a new coach, I think we'd see a similar situation to the Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray type of deal. So I think I'd wait till like the 3rd or 4th round, call them up either late in the 3rd or early in the 4th or whenever the Niners picks are, and try and make a move then, maybe even the 5th. Like if they draft a quarterback and the rest of their draft isn't going the way they think, or they think they have a sleeper, because I think this is going to be a deeper draft. I really do, from top to
Especially
bottom, all
just
positions.
with COVID. I mean, there's a lot of guys that didn't get a lot of film out, and there's a lot of players that opted out as well. So you're gonna have a lot of guys like, hey, this guy wasn't that big. He's been training for the draft. And you'll have these super athletic guys go a little earlier than people know of. And a lot of names that people know will slide too. I mean, that's every year, but I think this year and even more. But I think
And
for my perspective on it, I think that the Niners, if I'm the Niners, I'm willing to probably give up a third, maybe give up a couple day 3 picks, maybe do something like that. A second is a little steep. If you traded a second, I think you'd want to get back a fifth or a fourth. I don't know what the cap would be, but a second's a little bit much. I think one of the ideas I had was swapping 12 for I think it is 23. Also think that's a little steep. The teams that need quarterback around the league, they don't need him anymore. Like they went and they got their guy or they got someone to fill that role. For instance, the Bears, maybe they would go after Sam, but would they really? They just had Mitch. They just had this raw young quarterback. They signed Andy Dalton. I think it's more likely that they draft the guy that they like handpick. And I think we're going to see that. How many actual suitors are there going to be for Sam? That's one of the big questions. I think we could end up seeing him in San Francisco, though. I think it's a very big possibility. Also, if he does end up in San Francisco, I do think he's Jimmy's backup.
yeah, I would agree with that. The only thing I could see, the only other system I could see him going to maybe is the Steelers, but I don't know how enticed they will be to move on from picks as a replacement again. Get him under the system, get him behind Big Ben for a year or two, let him learn the system, let him grow with those receivers, get that Juju Smith connection, maybe help him stay there, maybe entice Juju to stay there. So I think that could be an option. But then again, Saleh and Shanahan already have their connection too. So maybe Shanahan and Saleh just want to do a little boys swap, and Shanahan wants to help Saleh rebuild a little bit quicker or get another young asset, and just take on. And obviously, Shanahan will get another quarterback that he could groom into possibly the future of the franchise, and maybe that's worth a third or fourth round pick.
I mean, I think it is. I mean, of course, if you go, hey, you're going to get your future quarterback for a third round pick, I think everyone's taking that.
Well,
But
I'm not saying no, I just mean having a guy who has the potential to
yeah,
be that. And I think Sam does have the potential to be that, especially with Kyle.
yeah, I think if you don't have Kyle Shanahan, I don't think you want Sam Darnold. And unless
Mhm.
I have another high level coach. If you're the Steelers, I mean, I do like that. Like, oh, bring him there. He's gonna have some guys. Has their offense really proven that it's gonna help a guy like Sam? I don't know. Like, and there's a lot of I knows around the league. I think there's a few spots where you're like, hey, if you're gonna bring a quarterback with a lot of potential, this is a spot that you want him to go, that you want to groom a quarterback. And I think being with Kyle is a big reason for that. So it'll be interesting how it plays out. But I think that's gonna do it for today. This is kind of our first time doing this film review type episode. It was super cool. Thanks again for coming on, Ricky. And anyone listening, if you like this stuff, we're gonna do another one about Samson Ebukam later this week, or I don't know when we're going to do it, but we are going to do it about Samson Ebukam. So make sure to subscribe, like, and comment what you think about Sam too, because I think there's so many different opinions on him. But thanks everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.